Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to the episode of my F1 2018 career mode, episode number 154 today for the Canadian Grand Prix in Season 8. If you guys did miss the previous one, the Monaco Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out, that usual Monaco chaos in the last one there. But before we dive into the heart of the episode, guys, just a quick message to say that I've launched my F1 Fantasy League, so if you haven't got signed up yet, go check it out at fantasy.formula1.com, get signed up, join my league, and go against me and, well, basically the rest of you guys who sign up, basically. And it's like football fantasy if you've not played it before, but for F1, pick your 5 drivers, pick your constructors. It'll start obviously at the Australian Grand Prix. We play every single round of the championship and we see who's done the best job at picking a fantasy team of these Formula 1 drivers there. So get signed up. The join up code is on screen right now, and also you can actually see it on the main lobby page. You'll see it called the aarava YouTube League. So get signed up if you haven't already. It'll be great to see so many of you guys there. But let's get into the episode then. So the Canadian Grand Prix, we've got 2 upgrades coming next episode at Paul Ricciardo, so we're going to have to wait for those, but I'm still pretty confident about what we can do here at Canada. Hopefully the car can go well in a straight line. We know the car is solid, and obviously a lot of opportunities to make some overtakes in a straight line with DRS also in the race. Qualifying, we'll have to see about that, but in terms of the R&D chart, looking at it there, we're obviously stayed put, the same with Red Bull and Renault. We've only had a bit of movement really at the bottom end with McLaren and Toro Rosso and Haas, honestly, so we can't really tell too much from last episode because Monaco is very unique and different to Canada, so I don't really know where we're going to stand, so it's a bit of a stab into the unknown really at Canada compared to where we just came from at Monaco in Spain, really. Both very different circuits to Canada. So let's just get into qualifying, and unfortunately, very much like last episode, I think this is an unfortunate pattern. We encountered some issues at the very start of qualifying.
Okay, I know you're eager to get out there, but I'm going to need you to be patient for a few minutes. We're just trying to zero in on an oil leak.
So last time it was some sort of electrical fault, and this time it's some sort of lubrication system error, so that's a little bit unfortunate, and hopefully that's not a habit that comes in a lot of time, and hopefully this doesn't come in at any point crucially during a race, or, you know, at a crucial point in qualifying, you know, where I'm at the dying stages of quali, and then we get a fault. Thankfully, both times the faults come at the start of the session, and it's only been a 2-minute kind of fault rather than like a 7-minute long kind of thing, which takes us, you know, halfway through the session. So we go through our first flying laps then in the qualifying session. So the first run done. It's not too quick as we're down in a P8 behind Ocon in the Ferrari. That should be slower than our Alfa Romeo racing car. So we go for a second run, then find a decent amount of time in Sectors 1 already, in Sector 2 as well, trying to take these high-speed chicanes as cleanly as possible there, slamming through the right and then the left. And so at the moment we're in P7 in between the 2 Ferrari cars. Vettel's gone better than us. I believe at this stage Leclerc is also a bit further ahead at the moment around P5. We go across the line and we go P5. Carlos Sainz is P6. By the time we get to the very end of the session, the flag is dropped. Alonso is ahead of us in P4. We're still maintaining that P5 position though, with Carlos Sainz behind us in P7 in the Red Bull Honda. But across the line, bit of a screen freeze for good measure, and across, and we finish up in P6. Actually, we improved our time, but then obviously others, I'm assuming, finished and finished their laps right behind us after the flag dropped, and so eventually we actually go down 1 position into P6 respective to everyone else. But at least we're actually quite close to Fernando Alonso. Obviously, we're right there, and actually it's Hamilton who's on pole. Surprisingly, Hamilton's really been on the back foot so far this season in that Renault, so kind of good for him to be kind of right up there, and actually very surprising to see Alonso kind of way down here in P5 alongside us in P6. And Leclerc, the time difference wasn't too much between myself and him, so he's done kind of okay. It was just a very close fight really between us and the 2 Ferrari cars you can see there, so he's down in P9. So hopefully it can be a good race in terms of battling Alonso, but we are lacking a little bit of pace compared to the pole man, so we'll have to see about it. But there's going to be no rain, so it should be a pretty straightforward race, and let's go out there and do some overtaking with some DRS. Let's go to the grid.
We're back once again beside the St. Lawrence River here in Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix. The event first moved to a variant of this track back in 1978. It was won by none other than Gilles Villeneuve, the first Canadian to ever win his home race, and in whose honour the circuit would be renamed. If you want flat-out racing, you've come to the right place this weekend, as it's full throttle for 59% of this 2.7-mile circuit, peaking at around 210 miles per hour going into the final chicane. But that speed requires discipline, and there are more than a few close walls here just waiting to punish drivers with a heavy right foot. It's a favourite for fans and drivers alike then here in Canada. We're used to seeing the unexpected happen here, and with me today to enjoy it all is Anthony Davidson, a man who knows firsthand the surprises that can pop up in this race.
I do indeed. Obviously, towards the end of the Grand Prix, the brakes are getting worn, maybe the weather situation has changed, so there's a lot to keep fighting for all the way up to that final corner.
So now let's look at the starting grid ahead of this Canadian Grand Prix in Montreal for Season 8 of my F1 2018 career mode. And pole position is Lewis Hamilton, finally finding some form in that Renault car of his. On the front row alongside him is Pierre Gasly, the reigning world champion in the Red Bull Honda. Third place is Max Verstappen with Carlos Sainz in P4 in the second Red Bull. We got Fernando Alonso in P5 alongside myself in P6, the two championship rivals. Then it's all Ferrari in the next row with Leclerc and Van Dorn around the top 10. Then you got Hülkenberg, Sorokin, Grosjean and Ricciardo down to P14, with Sergio Perez and Kevin Magnussen sharing a row, with Valtteri Bottas and then Brendan Hartley, and rounding out the grid on the last row are both Williams cars of Kimi Raikkonen and Lance Stroll. Alright, so here we are on the grid in P6 alongside our championship rival, Fernando Alonso. So we have a very good opportunity here today in the first stint to maybe try and get Fernando and get a kind of jump on him, because obviously we lost some points at Monaco last episode, so crucial to come back and try and get some points back on him. The strategy will be a two-stop Hypers to suit test of Ultras, and we'll see how the tyre wear goes, but I think that'll probably be the best way to go about this Grand Prix for us today. So here we go then, getting into it to 5 red lights for round number 7 of this season, the Canadian Grand Prix, as the lights go to 5, and then they go out and we're underway for the Canadian Grand Prix. It's a great start for us initially, but then into turn 1, nowhere to really go there as we get to the apex. Alonso side by side with Carlos Sainz. We get very close to Fernando's rear end there, and I think we made a little bit of contact with him. We had to go wide on purpose to stop ourselves breaking our front wing, and so instead Vettel's gone down our inside there, and we have to really watch out for a second time there, get brake checked by a car, and so it's getting very, very close. And you can see obviously lap 1's always going to be quite hectic there, but more hectic than usual for me, having to slam on the brakes twice there to stop ourselves breaking a bit of our front wing. And now we're down to P7, and Leclerc, our teammate, stormed down the inside there. I don't know how on earth he's got so much speed off that corner and down that straight. Obviously no DRS yet, it's activated on lap 3, so he's just got a lot of overspeed and got a great exit compared to myself. And now I'm under pressure from Esteban Ocon. So it's actually been a terrible turn 1 and lap 1 in general for us there, as we go defensive into the hairpin on the Frenchman in the second Ferrari car, and we just about managed to stay ahead in P8, although he has a little look, but he's going to tuck in eventually. But yeah, pretty horrendous, and probably one of the worst lap 1s I've ever had in a long while in this career mode. So I'm going to have to try and get recompose and try and come back at this right now. But Pierre Gasly, I assume, leads the way by taking the fast lap of the Grand Prix, so he's got a march on pole man Lewis Hamilton. Meanwhile, Leclerc is charging and continues to overtake here as he goes and overtakes Sebastian Vettel then round the outside of the hairpin. Good move for him, but Vettel might come back. That Ferrari engine has been improving steadily in the works car, so Vettel is going to come back down the inside. The two, obviously the two current teammates in real life Formula 1 do battle, the Alfa Romeo and Ferrari right now in the game, and we make a move now to the inside of Vettel as he's been squeezed out by Leclerc. So a bit of teamwork in a way. I don't think Leclerc really knew he was doing that for me, but alas, I'll take it. So he's helped me out there, and we're back up into P7, and so me and him lie astern now, and we've got a lot of clean air ahead of us on the map, you can see, to try and close up to the top pack with the one Red Bull Honda of Gasly, I believe, the two Mercedes cars and the two Renault. So let's see how it goes on as we move through. Then Gasly is the one that leads the way, so he's overtaken poleman Hamilton. He is there in second place, but he's keeping him pretty honest there. He's quite close. And in third place, you've got Max Verstappen in the Mercedes car, then just about holding off the Renault of Alonso, and right behind them is Carlos Sainz there. It's actually my bad. It was actually only one Mercedes car in that top 6, and actually 2 of the Red Bulls are up there doing pretty well for themselves. But here we are then, P7 and P8, chasing after that pack with that clean air, and if these guys fight enough, potentially they could hold each other up enough where we could close up both me and Leclerc. And here we go, actually speaking about fighting, Hamilton round the outside for a very easy move for him, actually, what it looks like there with DRS aided, and he's up into first place, so he takes back the lead and the command of the Canadian Grand Prix. Meanwhile, his teammate Fernando Alonso, the championship leader, down the inside of Verstappen to get up into P3. Verstappen's been held up a lot, as well as Carlos Sainz in the other Red Bull Honda, and so you can see there, Leclerc is right up the chuff in the gearbox there, and a lovely little shot of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars, all within just about a second of one another. So this is going to get very tasty indeed, as we might be able to make some overtakes now in this Grand Prix. So here goes Leclerc now, having a look maybe as Verstappen and Sainz swap positions. Sainz up into P4 now. now. Verstappen down the order, and that Mercedes car is just going backwards and backwards as Leclerc now makes a move round the outside. Can we try and follow him through? I'm very hesitant because I don't know where the room is going to be at the moment. Those two side by side, Verstappen slots in, but I don't have enough of an exit off turn two to make a move on Verstappen. So for now, I'm just have to stick behind and again go very slow as these guys get held up here. That's a common pattern so far at the Canadian Grand Prix. I keep getting awkwardly held up in the middle chicanes because these guys are slowing down and fighting so much with one another, and Verstappen comes in now for a pit stop there, releases myself and Leclerc potentially. They're all more kind of me because obviously Leclerc already got the job done. So a lap 9, we're actually going a lap longer already than our default pit stop was concerned, and Leclerc will come in on that lap. So I'm going to continue on for 2 more laps than my default strategy was saying, but I've still got a bit of tyre wear in the tank, you know, because we've gone a little bit slow with all this fighting. I do still have some pace in these hypers, so I'm going to push hard right now on this in lap essentially and come in now the end of lap 10 on towards lap 11 and try and see if we can do some good work. And if the other guys got held up fighting one another, maybe the overcut is going to work here around Canada. Obviously Monaco and Spain, the undercut worked quite well, but Canada, you know, compared to previous seasons, I'm trying to think, there's not really been an overriding better way to go about it. The undercut, overcut kind of depends on the scenario you're in. So here we go then, the end of the pit lane. Well, I guess we'll see, because there was some side-by-side action right there. It looked like a Ferrari or a McLaren side-by-side with one of the Red Bull cars. It is a McLaren of Daniel Ricciardo, who's going still quite long on that first set of ultra-soft tyres. So he's actually out of sync of this Grand Prix, but he's doing a great job for me of holding up that Red Bull car. I think that's Carlos Sainz and also Leclerc. So I've jumped Leclerc and Sainz in just one pit stop phase. So it's a great overcut for me, as now Sainz side by side with the McLaren goes down the inside. Great overtake for the Spaniard, but then here comes Leclerc. He overtakes the McLaren there on the left hand side and then goes for the move on Carlos Sainz. So it's a great dive bomb move, and once again Leclerc is really showing what a great overtaker is in the recent, you know, last season and a half really that I've been here with him as a teammate. There he goes right waltzing around the outside. DRS open, I think that is, and yes, he's got ahead of Carlos Sainz there, but we've had basically a fantastic pit stop phase of overtaking 2 cars for free essentially without having to actually do it on track there. So good stuff. The overcut did work quite a treat. So now we move on to lap 12. We're in P6. We overtake Sorokin on track, who's another car out of sync, and we'll be up into P5 of this Grand Prix. Remember, we were in P8 only a few laps ago, so very good phase of the Grand Prix for myself. So here we go on the left hand side, easy move with DRS assistance there through the chicane and past the wall of champions, and we're up into P5, and Leclerc will follow suit on the very next lap there with DRS. A dive to the inside there. It's a very bold and aggressive move there for Leclerc, but Sorokin keeps it in there, so maybe not the best place to actually try and make the pass, but eventually into the hairpin Leclerc will get it done, cut across and back to the racing line, and he's up the order. And Carlos Sainz now will probably call on the Red Bull bosses to try and get the Toro Rosso out of the way. Meanwhile now we move 2 laps later, lap 14, Hulkenberg slow in the Mercedes car. He's out of sync of this Grand Prix because I think he's going long on that first set of ultra soft tyres, because we go down the inside of him there, and he's been quite slow in the last 2 laps for us to rapidly catch up to him, and we try and make a move around the outside of the German there. We have the acceleration on him, but he keeps his nose in there, and I just can't make the move to the outside. Didn't have the confidence to hang it around. I thought I was going to go wide, maybe on the grass, so we kind of back out of that and try and be a bit patient with him. But this is frustrating me a little bit because Leclerc, you can see in the background maybe of that shot just there, is catching up. So the German is holding me up here, and we need to get past the silver arrow very quickly. So we can't make a move here on this straight. The DRS aids us to close up to the Mercedes car, but not enough to make a move to the inside like Leclerc did to the Toro Rosso. Instead, we might have to wait for the hairpin potentially, but even then, we're not close enough actually. The Mercedes car has been very good in Sector 2, so we have to wait maybe now finally onto the back straight. Another DRS opportunity here, and this might be the chance where you overtake him with overtake mode on the ERS. Rich Mix going there up into 8th gear, revving out the hell of 8th gear, and here we go now, the slippery Alfa Romeo past the kind of heavier and bulkier Mercedes car, and oh wow, Hulkenberg comes in for a pit stop. That is really annoying. All that fighting, and he was going to come in on that lap anyway. That is frustrating to say the least, but there you go, those things happen sometimes. So we're up into P4 now as we're on lap 16, so actually myself and Leclerc running here P4-5. We've actually done both a great job at jumping a lot of people, and so some people clearly have lost out in the kind of tyre wear and the pit stop phases. So Leclerc with the fast lap of the Grand Prix, so that is actually going to get me to get a move on there, because he's right up my chuff and he's pressurising me, so that's going to be a bit of a kick up my arse to try and get the hammer down. And so immediately very next lap on lap 17 onto lap 18 I'm going to respond there with another fast lap of the Grand Prix there. So 2 laps in a row. The Alfa Romeo is setting the timesheets alight, and so both of us clearly have some pace in the tank to try and close up to this top fight that features Fernando Alonso, Gas in Hamilton, maybe, fingers crossed. But we come in now for our pit stop. Leclerc already came in 1 lap earlier, so this has been a pattern of Leclerc coming in earlier than I am. He actually came in 2 laps earlier, really, so I've gone a lot longer than him in this stint, and we're going to go into another set of ultra soft tyres. Leclerc, I can tell you, has gone on to a set of super softs, so for some reason, my teammates thought that he can't go to the end of the Grand Prix on that middle compounder tyre here at Montreal, so he's had to duck onto the hardest compound available, whereas I've gone longer enough to stretch this, and so I can go into another set of purple wall ultra tyres to end the Grand Prix, out in P4 once again. But meanwhile, it's Lewis Hamilton that leads the way. Like I said earlier, he overtook Gasly with a very easy DRS pass, and since then has dominated the Grand Prix basically. Gasly second place, Alonso P3, and there we are, sparking away in P4. We are catching our championship rival, and Leclerc is only about half a straight behind also on those super soft tyres. Also closing in potentially as we go on to lap 28 there. So we've got only a finite amount of laps left in this Grand Prix. We've got some blue flags there, and Gasly has been slow, and Hamilton has dropped the Frenchman, and Gasly is falling into the clutches of maybe myself and Fernando Alonso. So this could be a three-way fight for P2, so this could get very tasty indeed. But at the moment, I'm just a little bit too far back to get right involved straight away, and it might be Alonso v Gasly first of all into turn 1 potentially of this next lap, lap 29. We have a DRS though, so we're within 1 second at least, and here we go, very nice chicane there, little tap, love tap on the wall of champions. But ahead of me, Alonso is going to go for the dive to the inside of Gasly then. So my two former rivals of the past and my current rivals right now in Season 8 side by side. Obviously Alonso, I was teammates with him at McLaren in Season 3, and Gasly had a very tight fought championship last year in Season 7. They're side by side still in the second chicane there, and Gasly is still not giving up, but Alonso should have the overriding pace. He's got the better line to the inside there, and Gasly is gonna come back and squeeze out Alonso. Good work there from the Frenchman. He maintains P2, Alonso P3, and myself, we close right up there. But again, I've got no room to go for. I have a little look to the inside there of Alonso, but I still don't have enough room to make the dive here. So frustrating times and very much deja vu of not having anywhere to go for a pass there, despite, being right there for the taking. So we're still right up the gearbox of Alonso, nearly almost pushing him through that corner there, willing him on. And so we go back again to this back straight again with DRS available. We're actually a little bit low on fuel, so you have to watch out for that on the bottom right on the heads-up display. But Alonso unable to make a move on Gasly. Both of them go somewhat defensive and take a kind of awkward line into the chicane. That allows me to close right up there, and we have front row seats now to Alonso, who goes for the outside pass now into turn 1, gets right across, and Gasly cuts across and slows down a bit too much for my liking there, and we just about managed to not have any damage on our front wing there with a bit of a lock up there. But Gasly chops in there for P3. Alonso now up into P2 to make it a 1-2 for Renault. So that's going to be a very good Grand Prix for them if they can maintain that. That's not great for me, because remember, my objective was to try and finish ahead of Alonso, but now somehow he's managed to get up into P2, and I'm stuck fighting Gasly now, because we both get held up a little bit by blue flags. And so here we go now for the move with 4 laps to go in this Grand Prix. On the left-hand side, DRS open and aiding us, and we're through up into P3. Can we try and chase after Alonso? Let's see. We've got, unfortunately, more blue flags between us. The Force India cars getting in the way, and Alonso, in literally 1 or 2 laps' time, is waltzed away in P2. So the Renault still has some great pace and is still pretty dominant in this season so far, as Alonso is away. You can see in the minimap there, already just about maybe 2 corners ahead of us, unfortunately. So it might be too much of a gap to really close up now with only 3 laps remaining. I just don't think I have the pace, unfortunately. So we might be losing some more points to Alonso in the championship, and it's going to be pretty frustrating because, like I said, there's still a pretty big mountain and gulf between myself and Fernando in the standings. And now Gasly has a little bit of a run. He looks on the inside of us and he's made contact. What on earth has Gasly done? It's controversy here in the last laps of the Canadian Grand Prix. I think Gasly is out of the Canadian Grand Prix. The tyre flew off. There's so many sparks in that instant there. Gasly, what on earth was he thinking? Went for the move on the outside of that corner when I was clearly taking the racing line. I was leaving the inside open, but he decided to go for the minuscule gap on my left, and instead now he's taken himself out of the Grand Prix. We've got massive front wing damage, so we're going to come in now for a pit stop there. I saw on my heads-up display, if I pit now, I can still come out in P6, so there's no point trying to risk it and be heroic and staying out with half a broken front wing and trying to limp home there in P3, because we're going to lose more time than I would do just coming in for this pit stop here. So a last-minute pit stop to have a new front wing, Hypersofts on, and just trying to maintain at least P6 or 5. I don't know what it's quite going to be, let's see, but it's a long old pit stop then, and that's really put a downer on this entire Grand Prix. Even though we were looking likely to finish behind Alonso there in P3 and lose 3 points, that was still only 3 points, but now we're just about out in P5 ahead of Max Verstappen there in the Mercedes car, and we're going to lose way more points because now Leclerc is in P3, it's Carlos Sainz in P4, and I just don't know what this incident was like. I mean, look at that, Gasly, what on earth, I mean, first of all, that's a spectacular crash. How much sparking was there on that Red Bull car? That was crazy, really a cool looking crash, but I don't know what on earth Gasly's doing here. He goes to move on the left, what is that on the left hand side there? He's got no room on the left. He's got so much room on the inside. He's got the overspeed, but look at this. When we pause it, there is no point making a move there, Pierre. You should have gone to the inside. I had the inside open. You would have had a very good shot at going down the inside and dive-bombing me in that chicane and probably getting the place in that instance. But instead, he goes to the outside where I'm already shifting to the left-hand side to take the normal racing line. So I don't know what on earth Gasly was thinking, but in the end, we're in P5. It's going to be Lewis Hamilton that finally wins a Grand Prix in Season 8 in the Renault, in his new surroundings in the Renault team. Fernando Alonso second place for a 1-2 for Renault, and unfortunately for us, we're not in P3. It's my teammate Leclerc who is in P3 with Carlos Sainz in P4, and we're going to lose some more ground to Alonso in the championship in what has been a very action-packed Canadian Grand Prix.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
A great win then for the Renault team today. So, Ant, how exactly did they set themselves apart from the pack today?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
So P5 for us, and Fernando Alonso comes in P2, so we lose some more ground there like we did in Monaco, and the gap is up into 24 points now in first to second. So despite having our 2 wins on the trot to kind of break Alonso's momentum, Alonso's been very consistent so far, and despite not winning the last 2 rounds, he's been scoring decent enough points to still have that gap. And remember, in context of my career mode and 8 seasons, 24 points is huge because the championships have been decided by a measly 4 points at a maximum, so 24 is still a mountain to climb. And so our car is getting there in terms of pace, but we're now hitting some stumbling blocks here. The last episode got held up with traffic, and this episode an okay race in 3rd place, albeit losing 3 points to Alonso. It's turned into losing way more than, I can't remember the exact maths, but still losing way more than 3 than it would have been. So that's quite frustrating in the end, albeit it was quite an enjoyable Grand Prix all the way up until then. Looks like myself and the Frenchman just cannot stop getting involved with each other on the circuit in the F1 games, it would seem, no matter the game, F1 2018 or F1 2017 from last year. But towards the end of the episode then, we're going to purchase another upgrade on the chassis side of things, a major upgrade, so that will take a further 2 episodes to come in for the Austrian Grand Prix, but at least we have 3 upgrades on the go. That should really bring us into contention with the Renault guys, because clearly from this episode you saw there, Renault still have some overwhelming pace that we have to try and close up there before myself and Leclerc can really start challenging them on track properly without any kind of good luck to come into it. But guys, if you have enjoyed that enthralling Canadian Grand Prix, then be sure to smash that like button. Let me know your thought in the comments below, and if you are new around here, do get subscribed for weekly F1 content. Like I said, guys, if you have not already, check out F1 Fantasy and join up to my league there. The league code is on screen right now, but hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.